Hello everybody, this is my standard Narset deck that I'm building. I came up with the idea right about when the standards for Khans of Tarkir started coming out, and they released the first spoilers to the wedges. I immediately loved Jeskai. Immediately. Starting with just like the artwork on Mystic Monastery, I just find that fantastic. Anyways, when they released Narset, when they finally spoiled Narset, I instantly decided I was going to build this deck. I don't care if it's bad. I don't care if Narset is like a card that you just... Most people think, Narset's a great commander card. True. But I want to build it in standard. I want to live the dream with free Elspeths. That's my goal. So here is my standard, currently standard budget Narset or Jeskai deck. Okay, so far I only have 2 Narsets. I think eventually I'm going to end up running 3, just so I can get that consistency. And the only targets I have, the only cards in the deck that I have, other than Narset that can't be cast by Narset, is I have a single Jeskai Elder and a Keranos. In the future, I am going to replace Jeskai Elder with Mantis Rider and probably run more than one. I have a Jeskai Elder in sideboard, which I will get to after I'm finished with the rest of the deck. So those are the creature spells. Starting with the non-creature spells, I have them organized by mana cost, I think, converted mana cost. So I've got 4 Raise the Alarm, and this card is just amazing in a deck that, doesn't run creature spells. It's really easy to use, and it's a great combat trick. It also combos really well with cards like Jeskai Ascendancy, and there's a lot of cards in here that can make those 1/1s. I've actually won the game with 2 1/1s before and 2 Jeskai Ascendancies, because my opponent was at 18 life, I had 2 1/1s on the field, and 2 Jeskai Ascendancies, and I played double Trumpet Blast and swung for 18. Then I've got 4 Lightning Strikes. I haven't actually playtested the Lightning Strikes yet. It's a really good card, and as a control deck, there's a lot of removal that I'm not using by not playing black, and Lightning Strike is I just really like this card. Also, the direct damage is useful because this deck does have quite a bit of burn, since Narset is great with spells that do burn. I've only got 1 Jeskai Charm. I'm probably going to end up running 4. Every single ability is relevant in this deck. 2 Trumpet Blasts, main board. I really like it as a target. I like that it makes my 1/1s 3/1s, and it's a non-creature spell that buffs all my attacking creatures. It'll probably get taken out of the deck eventually once I get other cards like Elspeth and make the deck a bit more control based. But so far the Trumpet Blasts are really useful because it helps me beat my opponent before they can beat me, because I don't have all the control cards I need. 3 Jeskai Ascendancies. I'm probably going to run 4. This card is amazing. It's one of the best Ascendancies, personally my favorite, especially because the first ability is amazing because it gives your creatures vigilance, essentially, which is great in a control deck like this, where self-preservation is like half of what I'm trying to do. And also, it helps me mill through my deck for the cards I need, especially lands, because it is a 3-color deck. And I've got main board for Divinations. I'm going to end up putting other sources of card draw in here too. Divination is just a great card. It's a non-creature spell too, so it triggers all those other abilities. I like Divination. I'm looking for alternatives, but so far this is all I have. Main board, I have 3 Devouring Lights. It's one of my favorite removal spells, and I like that it has Convoke, and Convoke isn't really useful in this deck. but I like that I can cast it with Narset, and basically once a Devouring Light is exiled off Narset, you don't want to block. That's just how it works. It's very useful in that sense. I've only got 2 dissolves in the main board because when I was playtesting this deck, I was playtesting against a really aggressive deck, a really aggressive like red-white deck, and the dissolves just weren't all that useful early game, and so that's why I have the Jeskai Elder in there. Hammer Perforos, very important. Having haste is amazing because this is why I like Mantis Rider. Mantis Rider has everything that I need. It's got Vigilance so that it can block. It's got Flying, which is evasion, so I can deal damage and not risk losing my creature most of the time. And it's got Haste, which means I can immediately attack. Haste is really good with Narset because it's really slow getting Narset out there by turn 6. I want to be able to swing on turn 6 if possible. So, also it is a target for Narset. I can cast it. The 2 Planeswalkers I have in here so far are Jace and Chandra. Most Planeswalkers that fit the colors are good in this deck. Elspeth is probably the best next to Jace. Jace is really good in this deck. Also, I love Chandra. This is the first time I've ever actually played with Chandra. When I was trading for cards for this deck, I decided to pick up a copy of Chandra Pyromaster and playtested it, and I realized that it was just a solid card. It is kind of sad, though, when you use the 0 ability and exile Narset without the mana to cast her. That's depressing. So the +1 ability is usually what I use. 2 Steam Augury. I've also got 2 more in sideboard. It's solid card draw. I like that it's instant speed. That is probably the number one reason it's in this deck. It is instant speed card draw, and that's what I need. And 2 Whelming Wave, just for the control, since usually I won't have that many creatures, and if I do, I don't mind losing them unless it's Narset. I won't cast this if I have Narset unless I have a way of getting my board presence back, or if I have an Elspeth. And I have a single Flying Crane technique. I have more copies of it, I just don't think running any more than one in main board is that smart. So, I really love this card, and I wish I could maximize it, but with Narset, it's probably not the best card. For lands, all I have so far is I have 1 Mana Confluence. I don't know if I want to run more than 2 once I'm finished. I got 4 Mystic Monasteries, 1 Temple of Enlightenment. I'm probably going to end up running 3 total Temple of Enlightenments and 4 Temple of Epiphanies when I'm done, and 2 Temple of Triumphs. For basics, I have 5 Mountains, 6 Islands, and 3 Plains. Alright, sideboard. This is probably the most important part of the deck. My first game, usually, I don't see my first game going very well because this deck is supposed to sideboard well. I've got everything I need for the most... Or eventually, when I'm finished, I'm going to have everything I need depending on what deck I'm playing against. I've got 4 Negates. I've got 1 more Whelming Wave. I don't think I want to run more than 3. 2 Dissolves for a total of 4. I have Searing Bloods, but only 2, to swap out for the Lightning Strikes, depending on what deck I'm playing against. I may run 4 Searing Bloods, but I don't really have enough room in my sideboard. So, Searing Blood is really good against certain decks, and it's not so much against most. Dictate of the Twin Gods, depending on how much burn I end up running. I really like this card because it has Flash. I only have 2 Revoke Existences, since it is sorcery speed, and it's not really a relevant card against every deck, but I need it in the sideboard just in case. 1 more Devouring Light. I've got 1 Bident. I thought I had 2 Bidents, but I guess I only have one Bident and an additional Jeskai Elder, which, as I said, the Jeskai Elders are going to be swapped out for Mantis Riders, because I'd rather go turn 3 Mantis Rider. It's essentially the same as going turn 2 Jeskai Elder, since Mantis Rider has haste, and Mantis Rider is just essentially a better